coming to you on a night where the Browns didn't play, so we can't lose. So not a therapy session. Obviously going to talk a lot about the coaching search, probably even talk about our last coach being hired, talk about who we want the Browns to hire as their head coach, what some of the options are. We got a boatload of voicemails to get to. It's going to be a fun episode here. It's almost like the episode when we don't have to talk about just like how bad the Browns are. The episodes almost become more fun, at least a little bit more relaxed. It's not as depressing, like, we're at the point now where like, there's always we're going to be good, so we're excited. So this is a fun time to be a Browns fan. The 16 or 17 weeks of misery are over, and now we're in the fun part of being a Browns fan. So we appreciate everybody who's here. If you want to get thoughts and intros on the show, head to thedogspodcast.com, tap leave voicemail. I haven't done an episode in 2 weeks. All of a sudden I'm out of practice in the open. I haven't seen you guys since last year, I don't think. I don't know. We'll see.
Happy New Year.
No, we did the Bengals recap.
Okay, yeah. We did. I haven't seen you since I haven't seen America. I haven't seen the nation address the nation though since Kevin was let go. And we started the whole coaching search. This is my first episode since then. So, nation, I'm here for you. Thoughts and intros, thedogspodcast.com. If you're following on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Make sure you tap the notification bell so you don't miss any of the content we're putting out. You can just listen to the show on Apple and Spotify. You find us on any of the social media platforms. Just search at The Dogs Podcast. And if you want more dogs content, head to jointhedogs.com. Become an official Dog Pack member. Get access to the private Discord. Get a chance to win one of these T-shirts. I decided to throw this on tonight. You play fantasy football with us. If you win a league, you get some merch. I won a league this year, so got myself a shirt. Well, Josh got me one, and I'm going to flaunt it in everybody's face the entire offseason. So I might just wear this every episode now until I lose next year. I'm just going to wear this every single episode. We'll see until I shrink it and it's like fat guy in a little shirt and I can't wear it anymore. I don't want to scare America. Yeah. So. But if you want to play fantasy football with us, you want access to that private Discord. This is a great time to be a part of the Discord. Coaching search, mock drafts, free agents that we're talking about. Like this is honestly like the best time to be a part of that. So if you want to join that Discord, you want to play fantasy football with us next year, you just want to meet a bunch of cool people from all over who are Browns fans. That's jointhedogs.com. Become an official Dog Pack member. So let's dive in here. First time addressing you guys, talking to you guys really, other than texting about the Browns coaching vacancy. Let go, Kevin. Kevin, I guess that's the hottest news right now, just hired last night to the Falcons. Gave him 5-year, $70 million?
It's a lot of money. I forget what they said. The actual financials have not officially been disclosed or whatever, but there's been some, I don't know, insider reporting or whatever, but it's a lot.
I'll say, I think this is this the first time in our lives that a head coach of the Browns was fired and then rehired again as a head coach of another organization? Did Pat Shurmur ever get a second stint?
Didn't he coach? I thought he coached with the Giants, or was he just
That's what I thought, or was he an interim or something? I can't remember. The only name that chat helped me out, did Pat Shurmur ever get a second stint? I know it wasn't right away. But I can't remember if he was ever a head coach again for like a season or two. But
what about like Romeo Crennel? Was that he coached again after us, didn't he?
He was an interim, Houston? I think, and then they like hired him back the next year for one season, and then was immediately fired. So, but it kind of tells you what the league thinks of the Browns, if we're being honest here. If the Ravens don't go full like insane mode and hire a first ballot Hall of Famer, Kevin would have been the first. There would have been a bidding war for the coach that we just fired. So that tells you kind of like what the league thinks of him as compared to what they think of the organization and maybe the roster that he was working with. So what do you guys think in terms of – I had so many people saying Kevin will never coach again. He'll never be a head coach again. I heard that so many times. I guess I've been a Kevin defender on here, but I understand the moving on. I can argue about why we didn't necessarily need to, but I can understand it when you only win 8 games. What kills me is like when guys will talk about Kevin like he was just the worst coach of all time, never did anything in Cleveland. He did things in Cleveland no other coach has ever done here since basically Marty Schottenheimer. So I think he's going to instantly win the division in Atlanta, and we're going to still probably. I think there's a better chance in 2 years he's fighting for like playoffs and that kind of thing, and we're hiring another new coach. If I was a betting man, that's the way I see that going.
I guess to answer the question, I think the question is Stefanski's position better in Atlanta? Yeah, man. Yeah, I think his landing spot's better off for him. He's going to a team where, there's major playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. You got Bijan, you've got Drake London. There may be, some insecurity at quarterback, but he's going there to a team with a guy in Kirk Cousins that, he was with Minnesota for years. There's familiarity there. It's like you guys said, the division's not good. There's opportunity right away. It should be an immediate kind of turnaround. You have the opportunity to win your division and be in contention for playoffs right off the bat. Good situation for him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's any surprise, at least it shouldn't be to people. It's definitely not a surprise to me that he got hired and that he was a hot name on the market. We've been told that by the national media for months, like, hey, if the Browns let him go, he's going to be one of the hotter names. Yeah, okay, that's fine. We get that. And I understand that the situation in Cleveland wasn't ideal. I think at the same time that, me and other Browns fans said we need to move on from Kevin, it doesn't mean he's I said this a lot. He's not a bad coach. I just don't think it's the right fit here. Like, he needed to move on. We needed to move on. I just think a change of scenery was probably best for both sides. If he definitely has a better situation in Atlanta, like you said.
But
it was getting stale here. I think we needed a new infusion.
Was it getting here? I guess I haven't got to talk about it since we fired. Was it getting stale, or did the roster just was pillaged? You know what I mean? And it's like
one or the other?
And then we kept one, which makes no sense to me.
What, Andrew Berry, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, I was on board for the full house cleaning. Just so everybody out there remembers, I wanted everybody gone.
That's
staff,
what
front office.
That's
stuff.
what was killing me. And it's like, if I had to blame people for what happened to the Browns the last 2 years, it wasn't the coach, in my opinion. But I mean, we'll see. It just for an organization that basically like my whole life is just gone through coaches like, I go through boxers. It's crazy to think like you fired a guy who's, I would imagine most people, unless you're just like an hater, you heard that he went to Atlanta and you were like, oh, they're probably going to be good right away. Well, so that means like the coaching probably wasn't that bad, so I don't know. It's going to be a tough pill to swallow when we're hiring our next coach again in 2 years and he's still down there winning games. I guess that's just like my only thing.
It's going to be interesting because I've got a lot of like Atlanta Falcons accounts and fans and stuff popping up in my Twitter feed because I've been talking with some of them, and there's some people that are really excited down there in Atlanta in that fan base for Stefanski. There's some people that are very skeptical because they kind of see it the way some of us Browns fans have seen. They're like, well, remember, this guy had to give up play calling in the last 2 years and all this kind of stuff. And the offensive numbers weren't all that great. Now, obviously, our personnel wasn't fantastic or anything like that. But I'm just going to be very interested to see how it works out down there because now we're getting reports that Tommy Reese might be leaving to go join him and his staff down there. Bill Callahan is rumored to be going down there to coach the O-line. So, if Kevin kind of gets the old band back together, I've just been saying, like, take Bubba, take Chad O'Shea, take some of these other, boneheads that are on our staff and get them out of here. I'd be okay with that.
I have a sneaky suspicion that these people that we think are boneheads are going to all of a sudden look like good coaches.
Chad O'Shea?
Because they're going to have good players. Here's the thing. It's one of those things. Everybody likes to bash on Chad O'Shea. Which receiver did we draft that he was supposed to make good?
Dude, there are receivers that turn into at least playable wide receivers.
None
in
of the
NFL.
wide receivers that the Browns have had that we expected Chad O'Shea to turn into a good have we released and then gone to other teams and been good. Half of them aren't even in the league.
Well, that's because they're 25 and never done anything. They've never
Too
developed.
many people, like, I understand coaching is definitely important, but at the end of the day, it's about players. And we have not drafted dudes for like 5 years on the offensive side of the ball. So again, I'm not saying I don't know if Chad O'Shea is a good coach or not. He's never had a good player to coach. Ever. So he had one wide receiver, and that guy had his 2 best career years here. So I don't know. I just have the cynical Browns fan in me is going to be really funny when all these guys that we think are terrible are all of a sudden that we're like getting talked about. Bubba will probably be like another hot name for head coaches again in 3 years because their special teams is so good and stuff like that. I'm just saying, watch it happen. It's going to happen.
We'll see. I did think it was interesting that nobody requested an interview with Tommy Rees after everything we heard about him being this hot up and coming, potential head coach for college teams, for NFL teams. Not one head coaching requested interview this year, aside from obviously us doing our due diligence.
I guess we can kind of transition this into like some of our coaching candidates. A guy who's an offensive coordinator calling plays for half a year, there's just no, I didn't care what the Browns were telling me. I had zero expectations for him to get interviewed for head coaching jobs anywhere. I mean, he's too green. That's why, like, I do not want Shieldhouse to be our head coach. Like, I don't know who I do want, but I know a couple of guys I don't want. He's on my list of please don't hire that guy. That's crazy to me.
I guess, and we can lead this into like the coaching candidates and stuff like this. I'm just curious what you guys are thinking, like as far as where the Browns like lie in coaching, like on the tree of this is a good job to go after. I have serious doubts that we get to the end of this thing and we're at the bottom of the list talking about what's left over. And, obviously we get excited about like the Harbaughs and stuff like that. And, I see guys kind of like just automatically Xing out some of these younger candidates and stuff like that. And I'm like, this is going to be one of the guys that we end up hiring. It's not going to be, Mike McDaniel. That'd be awesome. I'd be super stoked about getting that guy here, maybe transform an offense around that we have major weaknesses on. I don't even know if he'd pick Cleveland with what's left over still.
Well, the thing to remember too is we're not fighting for the exact same candidates as all the other openings because you've already got the Giants and the Falcons are done. Yes. Obviously, we weren't vying for Kevin Stefanski, so that's one off the list that didn't hurt us. The Titans, they're down to, I believe I saw a report, I forget who the 3 are. It's like Matt Nagy. There's 2 other names. They're down to like 3 candidates, and none of them are on the Browns list. So like there's 3 teams that aren't hiring anybody that we're even looking at. And I don't want to talk too much about Jim Schwartz yet because we'll get into that discussion in a little bit exclusively on him. But yeah, I think we got reports today. They've got 2nd round interviews lined up with 6 candidates this coming week, which is kind of crazy. It's Jim Schwartz, Todd Monken, Jesse Minter, Grant Udinski, Nate Shieldhouse, and Mike McDaniel. So those are the 6 second round guys. So I guess you can kind of say there's your finalists, at least at this point.
My piece on Shieldhouse, if you want to bring him in, if you hire somebody and he comes in to be your offensive coordinator, that's fine. That's too big of a jump. Passing game coordinator to head coach. We watched Freddie Kitchens here, right? Like you can't take, he has essentially the bare minimum responsibility in terms of an offensive coach, and he works for a genius. You know what I mean? So, and you're going to bring him here to lead an entire locker room. He's never even been a position coach that I know of. He's just a passing game coordinator. He charts pass plays. I'm not making that guy a head coach. Somebody else can let him cut it. Maybe I'll be wrong and he'll go somewhere and be awesome. I'm not doing that. Like we'll just be looking for a head coach again in 2 years.
Well, it's one thing to keep in mind. We might be interviewing some of these guys just to get feelers out there for potential coordinator positions or just to get some experience with some of these new faces for a potential head coaching search down the road. You never know what's going to happen and that kind of stuff, just doing some intel, collection and all that stuff. But we're not the only team interviewing Nate Scheelhaase for the head coaching job. I think the Steelers did. I'm trying to remember who else there were. I thought there was at least 2 other teams that had him in, or at least had him on a call for an interview. I guess nobody's really been in person yet.
I guess I also don't want Todd Monken.
No, can we just cross that one off the list entirely? What are we doing?
I'd be very, very surprised. I talked to Josh about this a little bit, just based on, now, obviously he's going for a head coaching position. So, that's a promotion. This is your shot. You're getting it in. But Harbaugh literally just basically let himself get fired from the Ravens over that guy. That dude's going with him to New York. He'll be in New York with him. I think he's just probably going through the process of, hey, I have an opportunity to interview for a head coaching position. I'm going to do it. There's familiarity, but yeah, I see him going to New York.
I hope so.
Yes, I hope he's not here.
Oh, in any capacity.
I don't want him. I'll be honest. I don't really want Jim Schwartz to be my head coach. How often does promoting a coordinator to head coach ever work? You promote Jim Schwartz to your head coach, chances are it's like a 1-year thing, and then GM and coach are both getting fired next year. It's just, and I'll be honest, I'm taking any defensive head coach off the list, because what happens if you hire a defensive head coach? You got to knock it out of the park with your offensive coordinator.
Right.
And then if you knock it out of the park with your offensive coordinator, guess what? He's getting hired to be a head coach the very next year. And because there's going to be 8 openings every year. This is the NFL. It's just the way it goes. And then you got to replace him again. And if you replace him again and you happen to strike gold twice, that guy's gone again. And you're just going to live in this reality of just constantly re-upping it to offensive coordinator. And eventually, you're not going to hit every single time. And you want some kind of continuity. You don't want to be replacing your offensive coordinator every single year.
Look what happened to the Lions this year.
Yeah. Eagles. Yeah. I was thinking the Eagles. Yeah. 5 coordinators in 5 years. You know what I mean? Like, some of it success, some of it not success. But regardless, you know what I mean? 1 year just turn around.
So that's why I'm taking a defensive head coach off my list for that reason.
Can I counter you on something? Just out of curiosity. Yeah. I watch the playoffs and I see these teams, defensive teams, like dominating, and capitalizing on, mistakes and stuff like that, and they're able to just do enough on offense. We're obviously, as an organization, we feel like we're built on one side of the ball for the most part. We're pretty solid on that side. Is there any way that we just go full force into defensive-minded coach and
Here's what I'll say. So Seahawks, dominating on defense, Clint Kubiak on the offense.
Yeah.
Broncos, dominating on defense, Sean Payton on the offense.
Right.
Rams, they got Sean McVay, their offensive-minded head coach. But you have to have a good offensive coach on that side of the ball, because you saw what happened with the Texans. Dominating defense.
One of the
offense
best, yeah.
was ass.
Yeah.
Terrible.
And I think DeMeco Ryans is a good head coach, but the fall off of CJ Stroud is just
bad.
Whoa.
He's what was it, Bobby Slowick? They fired him, right?
Yes. There is Davis Mills outplayed him this year.
Yeah.
There's going to be real talk in the offseason about can we play with CJ Stroud? And people were anointing him like a face of the league after his rookie year.
This is going to be May, I believe, would be 5th-year option decision time for the Texans, and that's usually when these first-round quarterbacks start getting that second contract talk, because they don't want to play on that 4th year, and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be interesting. Do you pay CJ Stroud? That's a conversation they're definitely going to be having.
That's tough. I also in a defensive coach. I don't know if he's lined up for a second interview or not. The Minter,
Jesse Minter, yeah.
Jesse Minter.
Yeah.
Yep.
I want nothing to do with that guy. I don't want anything to do with anybody who was at Michigan with Jim Harbaugh while they were cheating.
Okay. Thank you. I was going to ask you, like, am I wrong for saying that I don't need to know anything else about him? He was at Michigan with Jim Harbaugh during the thing. I don't want anything to do with him.
Yes,
that's all
I don't. Nope. Just keep him away. I don't need it. I don't need it. You cheated for a national championship at Michigan. You don't get to come coach the Cleveland Browns. That is. Stay away.
Yeah. So real quick, to go back to the original point here was hiring from within, promoting from within to head coach. And I posted this on social media, and I left a few off of here, but there's just that I forgot, but they weren't successful either. Like, nobody that's gotten promoted from within recently in like the last 10 years has ever had success. You got Freddie Kitchens, Gerard Mayo, and Antonio Pierce, Ben McAdoo, Mike Mularkey, Dirk Cotter, Doug Maroney, and Frank Reich was the longest lasting one. He lasted 6 years with the Colts.
Yep.
And he had a 41-43-1 record. Like, he was under 500. And all
he started
these other
off well.
coaches
He's kind of
lasted-
Kevin-ish.
Yeah, that's right. And then it went down. But all these other ones were like 1, 2, maybe 3 years they lasted. And they're all losing records. They got fired mid-season. Go ahead, because we need to really hone in on Jim Schwartz, I think. I do have a voicemail about him, but go ahead, Justin.
I think for me, and I understand, that there's familiarity with the Browns, you know what I mean? And the Browns organization, they feel comfortable with him. They obviously like what he's done with the defense. They trust him. But you already have 4 or 5 years of what this guy did as a head coach in Detroit. This guy was a head coach in Detroit, and it wasn't great. There was a lot more losing than there was winning, and we're talking about teams where they had Calvin Johnson, Matthew Stafford. These are 2 Hall of Famers on just that side of the ball, offensive side of the ball. If you want to just say, oh, well, if you have just that on offense, you're going to win.
Right?
Absolutely, yeah. And I want to say they had another interior defensive lineman that was a stud. I could be wrong, but you had 1 year where I think he went 10-6. That was his best year. And then you got a lot of like 2 wins, 4 wins. There's a lot of just normal Cleveland Browns records kind of stuff, that's lingering around there. I don't know. For me, it just kind of feels like the Browns just kind of need a yes man to just run the team for a couple years until they, get in position to roll out this dome stuff. I feel like he's just kind of a guy that can be the puppet in front of the podium for a little bit.
We just had that.
Here's the thing. I think Jim Schwartz is a good defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I do too.
But I don't think he's irreplaceable. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but
No,
there
you're
are
not crazy.
No.
Like we've watched his defenses. I mean, let's be honest, let us down like a lot of times in his tenure here. And I know they play really well at times also, but the Vikings game this year, the Titans game this year, and everybody liked to harp on Kevin for lack of adjustments. The Browns still can't stop a jet sweep. They still struggle with, like a slot receiver. And it's just like, I don't know. I don't think he's just, I think there's guys you could get to replace him in terms of, let's be honest also, the defensive side of the ball is where all the Browns' best players are. He should have had the good unit.
Right,
He inherited a unit that was just littered with top 2-round picks. And all the high level and highly paid talent of the Browns is on. Of course they should be good. They have Myles freaking Garrett. Like they have Denzel. They have the number 1 edge rusher in football. They have like a top 5 corner in football. Grant Delpit's probably a top 10 safety in football. Carson Schwetzinger this year is one of the best linebackers in all of football. The top 5 pick in Mason Graham on the defensive line. The defense has good players. They should be good. They should definitely be good enough not to give up 30 freaking points to the Titans or 80-yard drives to Carson Wentz. It's just so like, I don't know. I just think there's guys out there who could do a lot of exactly what Jim Schwartz does with this defensive roster. This defensive roster is loaded.
I just want to bring up one thing, Josh, and I'm going to kick it to you, man. And this is just my fear. And I don't know if you'll agree with this, Blake, but I think Josh probably will align more with it with the younger coaching search and stuff like that. The fact that the Browns are kind of telling head coaching candidates that they'd like to keep Jim Schwartz on as the defensive coordinator, I feel like you're already risking, obviously, if you like a guy, let's say they really like Udinski, right? That's a guy you really like. You'd love for them to bring him in. Let's say he has a guy in, we'll just say Jacksonville's defensive coordinator, Anthony Campanelli. Let's say that's a guy he would be interested in bringing with him to Cleveland down the road. Are you really risking not getting your head coach because you want to keep Jim Schwartz in the building? That's where I feel like we're treading weird territory with this search.
Well, the Falcons just did that with Kevin Stefanski. They wanted to retain their defensive coordinator, and they did. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I guess it's not completely unheard of. It's not like we're the only team doing that. I'm not a huge fan of it. I get why they're doing it because it's been so successful. But to go to what you were saying about Jim Schwartz in Detroit, Justin, from 2009 to 2013, he coached 80 games and was 29-51.
Yeah.
That's a 363 win percentage.
Yep.
And like Blake said, he had Matthew Stafford and Megatron and these guys on defense. And he hasn't – the thing that gets me with Jim Schwartz, I was really thinking about the other night, this dude hasn't been a head coach since then.
Right.
That was 2013. That was 12 years ago. Why has he not been a head coach since then? How many guys get retread in this league after a year or two? They go coordinate somewhere – Dan Quinn, they get another head coaching job. This guy never got another shot, and we're going to give it to him.
It's not only that. As far as I know, he's never even been like a name.
Not really.
He's never even been a name. Like he's never even been this team's interviewing Jim Schwartz, and then he just didn't get it. Never even been. He's not even been an option.
Do you guys remember after our playoff run in 23, there was a lot of that smoke that he was going to be looking at head coaching positions, and nothing ever came out of it. I don't even know if he interviewed for one.
It's one of those things where Cleveland fans always love the backup. We always love the backup quarterback. We love the backup coach. Cleveland fans, they love Jim Schwartz because he wears tight T-shirts and looks manly. Let's be honest. They like him because they think he's like a no-nonsense, going to yell at the players, high school football coach kind of guy, and that's why they want him. I mean, let's be honest, because nothing in his record ever says that he could be a head coach. Nothing around the league has told you that he would be a good head coach. You just think he'll throw players under the bus in the microphone after a game and that he'll yell at the refs on the sideline. So that's why you want to be the head coach.
And I also, and again, I try to say this delicately because I'm not trying to offend any Browns fans out there. I think that there is a faction of the fan base that just doesn't recognize any of the names we're interviewing. They don't know who the offensive coordinator for Jacksonville or the defensive coordinator for the Chargers is. They don't know these guys, and they work jobs and they have families and they have time to research who these people are. So they're like, just stick with Jim Schwartz. I know the defense is awesome. He's been here for a few years. Let's just ride with him. And it's the easy pick, I guess.
And I think there's a loyalty to it too, Josh. You know what I mean?
That's a good way to put it.
I think it's like a comfort zone thing. They're like, we've seen success, with this guy and what he's been doing while he's here and all this chaos and this confusion and dysfunction. So, maybe this is the kind of guy that can just take over the whole operation and just lead this thing forward.
Yeah.
I mean, C.J. Stroud had his last good game against this defense.
I was posting that on X today whenever I was watching the game. I'm like, I can't believe this is the guy that shredded us as a rookie.
I mean, think about it. He went off against us as a rookie, and then the next week, I don't think he did anything against Baltimore. And then the last 2 years, he's been mid. His last great game was against us, against this defense, the defense that everybody loves. It was this was his last good game. Was against this defense.
Yeah.
We got a bunch of voicemails, right? Do we want to do a commercial, then get into the voicemails right after?
Yep, let's do that. We'll be right back after a quick break. This episode is sponsored by Kalshi. Browns fans, are you ready to put your money where your predictions are? With Kalshi, America's #1 regulated prediction market, you can legally trade on events that actually matter to you. And the best part is you don't need to predict specific stat lines and compile a 7-leg parlay to win big. With Kalshi, the objective is either yes or no. Will Miami beat Ole Miss? Will Indiana take down Oregon? Which team will win the Super Bowl? And who will be the first pick in the NFL draft? You can put your money on these predictions and more with Kalshi. If you want to try it out, Kalshi is giving $20 to anyone who signs up at Kalshi.com/dogs. That's KALSHI.com/dogs, DAWGS, and trade $100. Get away from those disadvantageous sports books and dive into real-world outcomes with real-time odds and real payouts. Head over to Kalshi.com/dogs or click the link in the description to get $20 when you trade $100 with Kalshi. That's Kalshi, because why shouldn't you get paid for being right?
Since 1989, Mount Hope Fence has set the standard in outdoor living. From decks and railings to fences and patios, we've got you covered. Our lineup features top brands like TimberTech, AlumaGuard, Preferred Railing, and Unilock, along with our own premium Duralux vinyl products. For over 30 years, we've partnered with contractors ensuring reliable job site delivery. Discover quality and excellence in all things outdoors with Mount Hope Fence.
Welcome back. I had one comment that I thought was funny in here real quick. Is from Brad. He says, one thing I don't want to happen is we have a guy in the building we didn't hire and he goes to another team to be successful. You mean like most likely what our head coach is probably, you mean we had a guy in the building and then we fired him and he's probably going to go win 10 or 11 games and go to the playoffs next year?
He probably meant Mike Vrabel, to be honest with you. But
oh, well,
That's
I feel
fair
like
also.
it's probably going to happen. It's probably going to happen again. And Vrabel wasn't staying here.
no. And I saw something in the chat and I was looking at it over the break there. Jim Schwartz did deal with some health problems after his stint as the head coach in Detroit. So he did have some health issues. He had to step away from coordinating for a few years and that kind of stuff. So I guess maybe that probably played to a little bit why he didn't take a head coaching job anywhere. But again, I don't really recall him being interviewed, definitely not recently. And you think about how often these defensive coordinators, like even this year, how many of these defensive coordinators on these stud teams are getting head coaching interviews? Jim Schwartz didn't get any last year or the year before.
And there's a third of the league is open right now.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And he doesn't have to stay in Cleveland. You know, he can get out of his contract in Cleveland and he's interviewed here in Baltimore.
Yep, Baltimore.
And I'll be honest, I said this when Baltimore requested the interview. I said, I feel like they're trying to rush us into just making him our head coach.
Yeah.
They're like, because we don't want to lose him to Baltimore. So they're just trying to, it's like when we requested Monken when they still had Harbaugh and we were just kind of putting the screws to him a little bit. That's what it felt like to me because nobody else has requested to interview him. He's interviewed nowhere else.
You're absolutely
a third of the
spot on.
league needs a coach. This guy coached the defense that is supposedly the best defense in football, and the only place he's interviewed is here in Baltimore.
And you got the Rams D coordinator, the Seahawks, the Packers, the Chargers, all these other. The guy from Carolina, their defensive coordinator. These guys are all getting a couple head coaching interviews.
Yep.
It is weird. It is odd.
But all right, let's get into some voicemails here.
All right, first one is from Justin. Not our Justin, the other Justin.
What's up, Dog Podcast? It's your friendly neighborhood Browns fan, Justin, out here in Jersey again. Seeing a lot of stuff going on. It is starting to look a little bit like Harbaugh might be out of the question just due to the crickets and everything I can see in the media. He would have, still be my first choice. If not, honestly, my second choice would be McDaniel because he is very offensive minded. I keep seeing all these, interviews that are happening, being requested, and all the ones that say defensive coordinator, we really need to eliminate because we already have great defense, great defensive coach, right? Now, the only thing that gets tricky is if Jim Schwartz leaves and takes a head coach position, and I pray to God it's not in Baltimore. And if that's the case, then I honestly don't even know at this point like who we would go for. I'm praying that we keep Jim Schwartz at defensive coordinator and we get McDaniel or Harbaugh. But we'll see what's going on. Anyway, go Browns.
Obviously, that was sent in a few days ago before the Harbaugh news.
Sure.
Yeah.
Which I guess we can talk about. There was no way Harbaugh was coming here.
He obviously wasn't going anywhere except for New York.
Yeah. Ultimate
You know what I
pipe
mean?
dream.
Like I said throw a blank checkbook at him. The problem is they're all billionaires. They can all throw a blank checkbook at him.
Yeah.
And they all don't have our quarterback room, our offensive line, our wide receiver room, our owner. Like there was zero chance. He's had a front row view of the dumpster fire that is the Cleveland Browns for 2 decades. He was not coming to Cleveland. There was zero chance in hell that was ever going to happen. So a name that he brought up, though, was Mike McDaniel, and I do think that is a name, like, I think he would be a decent candidate for the Browns. And it's just tough because I don't know. He's just a little bit odd in what sometimes geniuses are, and he's definitely like an offensive genius. And that's a guy that for like the last 2 seasons, I was hoping Miami would fire him and we could snatch him up as an offensive coordinator. I don't think you'd be able to get him as an offensive coordinator now. There's too many head coaching openings. I think he's definitely going to get a head. Yes, he's going to get a head coaching job, and if he's going to settle for an OC, there's way better OC openings out there.
Yes, way better, bro. Yes. There it is. That's
as a football fan, just like a football fan, if we don't hire him, and I would almost prefer that we don't, so we don't ruin him. I'd love to see him in Detroit. Like
that was the one. That's like the pie in the sky for some of these OC.
Or what about the Eagles? The Eagles position's
the Eagles
open.
Would be good too.
That's another one where it's like
that. He's actually mulling over taking an OC job, a good OC. Think about like Cliff Kingsbury did that, right? Didn't go so well out in Arizona, got an OC job, got his name back out there, showed what he could do. Now he's back in the head coaching circle again.
Yep.
I like McDaniel for the offense. I guess here's the thing I'll caution is unless Andrew Berry pulls off just like the greatest offensive draft of all time again, I really don't care who we hire. We're not going to have a good offense again next year. I just don't see a world in which we get 5 new offensive linemen, 3 new wide receivers, and maybe a quarterback. We'll see what Shedeur does in the offseason and in one offseason. And you need all of those to be probably any good next year. So
it's bad.
But I do like him. The biggest reason why I don't want him is just because when we lose a game, I just don't want to listen to Browns fans and the media bitch like that his pants were rolled up or that he was wearing sunglasses. How can this guy can't coach AFC North football? He wears sunglasses. His capris are too high. That's why he can't coach in the AFC North. That's why we lost. I just don't want to listen to that for like the next 3 years at all. But if I can get over that, I think he's definitely. I mean, we want good offense, right? He drugged Tua's sorry ass to the playoffs twice. Like we'll get a more creative offense if we get him in here. That's for sure.
I think a lot of like media personalities in Cleveland are saying that he's like not really a great fit in Cleveland. They're like, he bases all of his stuff off speed, and we are missing that on the roster. Keep in mind, we're about to go into another draft where we're probably gonna, I would think, take an elite playmaker on offensive side of the ball pretty high up. And we're heading towards a similar situation where the weather's not going to matter in 2 years. Speed, all those things that people are arguing we can't make it a factor in the AFC North. It's going to be like Miami North in 2 years in a huge dome where the field's conditions are going to be perfect. There's not going to be, dudes sliding all over the place. You'll have 2 years to draft some speed. So I think the argument that the roster isn't good enough to bring in a stylistic coach like McDaniels is just kind of a soft take. I think that there's nothing wrong with what we can build around that.
I do like Mike McDaniel to an extent, but my drawback, my hesitation with him is just hiring a guy that came off a team that fired him because they underperformed from expectations, and they were having like players only meetings and things, and there was like, I know they played well the last stretch of the season and they were fighting and stuff, but there just seemed to be some dysfunction there. We saw them in Cleveland. We rolled them this year when they came into Cleveland, and I feel like
it's just something about either almost getting beat by Cleveland or getting beat by Cleveland turns your season around. Because last year we took the Eagles to the wire, and I didn't think they were going to win another game. They won 15 in a row and won the Super Bowl. This year we steamroll the Dolphins, and I'm like, they're not good. That's the worst team in football, and they won like 7 games after that. It's crazy.
Yeah, you're right. I just think that fans, the media, everybody in the fan base of Cleveland Browns is going to have a lot less patience with a guy like Mike McDaniel than they would because if you bring in a younger guy and you say, listen, we know this is going to let's do this for a few years and see how it looks. It sucks. Nobody wants to hear that, but I think that's the reality. You're much more, I feel like, understanding of a young guy growing with the roster and implementing his offense than a guy that was just a head coach somewhere else and comes in here and now we win 4 games. It's like, oh, geez, here we go. Get this guy out of here.
Well, it's one of those things where you should expect to win 4 games next year, Cleveland fans.
Yeah.
Like, just like you should have expected it this year. But I would. That's an option. I would take him. I'd take the kid out of Jacksonville. Honestly, that's probably like my short list, if we're being honest.
Udinski's my one. He's my one. I just think everything I've heard about him and listened to, coaches that have been with him before, quarterbacks that have had him, Trevor Lawrence, Sam Darnold, they love the guy. Nobody can say a bad thing about him, and just how smart he is. And
I guess my if I'm playing devil's advocate, because I don't he's definitely like him and McDaniel are the two guys. My devil's advocate to that is we think he's an offensive genius, but we don't really know because he doesn't call plays. He's never not been with, Kevin O'Connell or Liam Cohen. So we don't know what he can do. We know that Mike McDaniel can put a creative offense on the field. Like we watched him do it. So that would be like, if I had to pick between the two, it's like, then I feel like you're splitting hairs. You know what I mean? And I feel like we should be patient with Mike McDaniel's 42 years old. You know what I mean? Like, he's a young, creative.
I'm not saying
he's
we
also a creative
shouldn't
genius.
Be patient. I'm just saying I can see it being impatient with the fan base if there's not decent success soon.
Like I said, I think the impatience would breed from his pant length. I'm being. You guys are laughing, but I'm right.
I'm laughing because I know you're right.
Somebody in here said this sounds like something the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show would talk about on their show. It made me laugh very hard because it's exactly something they would talk about. I can hear it now, but yeah, that's definitely my short list of guys. He's crazy young, and again, like out of nowhere, like are we going to be patient? Because we don't really have the history of being patient.
He's basically Kevin O'Connell's like protege. That's basically that's pretty much what it is. Like some of the stuff, Josh, I don't know if you've like come across any of this, but some of the stuff that you read about him, basically like Kevin O'Connell just glazing hardcore, big time, like blown away by the kid, his work ethic, everything, how he understands football, how smart he is about how just the offensive, that side of the ball. I'll let you, continue to glaze.
He made Udinski his personal assistant at 25 years old? Because he saw like this guy. Everybody and every coach that you hear talk about Grant Udinski has said, oh yeah, he's going to be a head coach. He's going to be a great head coach. Like they all believe in what he has and what he can do. So that's why I'm intrigued. And I've already said this earlier in the week on the podcast, but I'm just my personality. I'm a little more enamored by the unknown. Like there's unknown upside there. Not that there's, we can't have unknown upside with McDaniel, but we've kind of seen what he can do, and it can be good and it can be not so good. But I'd rather take the shot. I'd rather take the shot at the lottery ticket than not. But that's just my personality.
I worry that McDaniels goes, Udinski goes, and we're even past that. That's what
I guess so. I know McDaniel's interviewed other places. Has Udinski interviewed other places?
Let me look it up real quick. I actually don't think so. I think
you want to play a voicemail while you're looking it up.
Oh yeah, sure. Let's. This one's from Claude.
Hey gangs, Claude from Uriel. Just wanted a quick story and a couple questions. The other night playing cards with a couple buddies, Magic Gathering, and my buddies. Johnny, big Washington fan, starts ragging on me for being a Browns fan. Same old stuff that I'm sure a lot of Browns fans hear. And in the middle of his rant, I just snap and I go, well, at least the Browns finished with the same record as Washington. And his eyes just go wide. He didn't even realize this, pulled his phone out. When he did realize this, he was dumbfounded. And that just felt great. But he's asked me what the organization is going to do. And I'm like, I don't know, dude. I don't know football. I'm not going to pretend I do. I just love the Cleveland Browns. I love the connection this team gives me with my American family. Like I'm in Canada, so it's a great talking point. But so I'm curious, do you think in our coach hunt that a experienced coach that's a bit older will have a hard time connecting with the younger players as the league changes? And vice versa, do you think a younger coach will have a harder time commanding the room not sure if any of this has been touched. And then also going to the draft, do you think the influence of Paul Deep, I can't even say his name, sorry, anymore, will change the influence of how we approach the draft? Thank you, guys.
I sure hope so.
I freaking hope so.
I think he's still got fingerprints, that are just lingering around on analytic stuff. But you gotta hope. Hey, if a guy is just really athletic and good at football, draft that guy. Draft him.
We're hoping that last year's draft was like a window into that. Like maybe AB and the scouting department, those guys just got away from all the nonsense that DePodesta was doing for the last decade, and that's why we hit on so many of these guys. And
maybe they just told him, "Kick rocks, Paul. We're doing this. We're doing this on our own tonight.
We're drafting.
We're
Harold
tired
Fannin,
of this.
damn it.
Yeah, we're taking this guy, dude." They let him have pick 5.
I do think it's funny that his buddy didn't realize that the Browns had won just as many games as the Commanders,
Yes.
and it kind of made me think for a second. Like, do you realize? The Browns won 5 games. They only won a couple less games than the Colts. They only won 1 less game than the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep.
Kansas City Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes.
For most of the year.
They only won 2 less games than the Cowboys. Same amount of games as the Commanders. They only won 3. Well, I guess 4 is kind of a lot in a 17-game season. The entire NFC South only won 8 games. You know what I mean?
Well,
so it's like the Browns and I'd make the argument the Browns are easily the worst offensive roster out of all those teams.
Oh yeah. Brian Schottenheimer is another name on that list that I forgot to mention earlier of coaches that get promoted from within. He was the offensive coordinator, got promoted to head coach, and they went 7-9-1 his first year there with Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Javonte Williams. I don't know, man. I'm just not a big fan of promoting the coordinators up to head coach. From your
I can see if Grant has interviewed anywhere else.
Okay, so I looked that up. The Cleveland Browns are the only team so far that's interviewed him. So we did a Zoom. We've done a Zoom with everybody so far. We had ours with him yesterday. I saw reports that said it took the full allotted 3 hours that you're allowed to interview a guy, and it went the whole time. And then he got his second interview today.
Yep.
Like the very next day with the Browns. So I don't know if that's just because he interviewed last of all the candidates that got a second round, or he was just that impressive that the very next day they said, we want a second interview with you. I don't know which way it went, or maybe it was both. I don't know. But he's exciting to me. I like him.
I guess then if I was here to argue with you, I'd say you don't want Jim Schwartz because nobody's interviewed him, but you want the guy who's nobody else is interviewing to be the head coach.
Yeah. Well,
literally nobody else. Nobody else.
Jim Schwartz has been the head coach, and it did not go well at all.
I got your back, Josh. Blake, he wants the offensive guy.
Yes.
Not the defensive guy.
No,
Very different, bro. Very different, you trickster.
I know.
You trickster.
I know. I'm just using.
Yeah, I know what you're doing. Yeah, I know.
Nobody else is interviewing this guy.
Let me stir the pot. I know what you're up to.
Which I guess
but
is
remember,
like another.
The Jacksonville hired him. He was not the offensive coordinator for the Vikings, and they hired him straight in to be their offensive coordinator. So, they took a swing on him too because they
offensive
saw what
coordinator that doesn't even call the plays though. Like how?
Yeah, but I've already covered this a lot. Like play calling's a thing that we're gonna have to get away from as fans in the NFL right now because pretty much every head coach now has been a coordinator that called plays is now calling plays for their team. So their coordinators don't call the plays. So the next
but you said
you
said take a swing. It's not really taking a swing. Liam Cohen's going to be in charge of the offense, call the plays, and design most of the plays. He's just a figurehead. It's not really that much of a swing to just put a guy there. Hell, I could have been their offensive coordinator. Liam Cohen's calling the plays, designing the plays.
I think you're really undervaluing what an offensive coordinator in the NFL does.
Well, then why did we put so much blame on Kevin for his offense when we had offensive coordinators?
Because it was his offense.
Then it was Liam Cohen's offense.
Okay, well, I want to see what Grant Udinski's offense looks like.
So that's just what I'm saying. Like, I'm just saying, like, nobody else wants to hire him, or nobody else is even interviewing him. It took a swing.
Okay, I thought
they
you
didn't
said
even
he
hand
was
him
on
that
your
much
short
responsibility.
list. Are you talking yourself out of him?
he's on my short list for the same reason I think he's on yours. He's an offensive guy. And like Justin is saying, first of all, we fired a coach in a bad year. I don't think there's really that many great candidates out there. And we're not going to get the best one was Jim Harbaugh or John Harbaugh. We weren't getting him.
This is the only way that I would present it. And this is the way I'm thinking of it. Las Vegas is still available. That has a number 1 pick and a franchise quarterback attached to it. That's an attractive job. Tennessee has a number 1 pick franchise quarterback attached to it. That's an attractive job. You know what I mean? Baltimore, there's reasons that you would want to go to Baltimore, and then like after that, it's like, okay, well, we're left over. Who else is left over after that? Pittsburgh.
The Browns are the 3rd best job in the division that's available.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I agree 100%.
Well, I guess we got a super chat here from Rick Atkins said, what coach would you hate to see the most go to the Steelers?
I don't know. It's so tough to. I think Mike McCarthy's interviewing there.
I saw that.
He is.
It's tough because I wouldn't have let Tomlin go. I just would have. I guess it was mutual. I don't know how much it was mutual or they said, hey.
I think it was a him decision, man, based on.
He was probably ready to take a break.
Yeah. Yep.
But I would have, like Tomlin to me, I just would have been like, you can't hire an awful offensive coordinator.
He's getting head coaching interviews, man. Tennessee and Arizona are interested in Arthur Smith. I don't understand it.
No, like I think it's tough. Like, who are you going to hire? Just like the Ravens, who are you going to hire who's better than John Harbaugh? You're not.
Yeah.
Like, who are you going to hire that's better than Mike Tomlin? Nobody.
Not. Yeah.
You're not. So it's so hard to say. I want to say I don't want them to get like some great offensive mind.
I know,
because that's kind of been their Achilles heel since Ben left. Is they're just utter lack of offense. What were you gonna say, Josh?
That's a good point. I know they've interviewed Nate Scheelhaus for their head coaching job. I kind of don't want to see them get Brian Flores because I just feel like that could be a fit for them.
I respect,
especially if he gets a coordinator.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Like I said though, if he gets it right and then he gets the coordinator, is he going to be stuck? Are they going to be stuck replacing him every year,
like Tomlin did?
Yes. But no, Brian Flores with they had the number 1 paid defense in football. Brian Flores with that defensive unit, that would be tough.
Yeah, that's what I don't want to see.
Who don't you want to see in Baltimore with Lamar? You got to think someone like a Mike McDaniel.
What about
I don't know if they've interviewed. Yeah, like I don't want somebody like that playing with Lamar. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I'd hire him here just to keep him out of there because think of the things he'd come up. I mean, and they have like a Zay Flowers as a receiver. He could definitely do some things with. They still got Derrick Henry. I know he's getting older, but he's probably still going to have juice left in the tank. He looks great still. And you have a Lamar. That's I don't need some whiz kid going and getting to call plays with Lamar.
Honestly, it doesn't really matter with Baltimore. They're pretty loaded on both sides of the ball. Like whatever that coach brings to the table is going to improve what they're doing. I mean, they're pretty set.
So it's just it's one of those things where like when we're looking at the Browns and who they're going to hire, just what's going to be left. And if you really are a bright up and comer and you only get a first opportunity once, why would you take it here? You don't even know who your quarterback's going to be next year. Like we all think Shador right now, but none of us really know what a new coach is going to bring in and do. Deshaun might start next year in week 1 if he's healthy, which he should be by then, unless he re-tears his Achilles this year in the offseason.
I saw people speculating about that. Like, are these offensive guys coming in here saying, hey, I think I can work with Deshaun? I mean, I guess if you really wanted a head coaching opportunity, put that in your pitch because he's going to be here and the Browns invested everything into him.
I just don't know if you could roll him out on the field.
I can't wait for that 30 for 30 where he balls out his last year of his contract and we sign him for another 5 years, 230 guaranteed.
That's
Can't
what I was
wait.
actually. I was
Can't
talking to
freaking
somebody
wait.
about that. I said the only thing I'll have, he'll come in and we'll play him next year, and he'll play well, and it'll be like, do we sign him?
I don't even want to have that conversation.
And 3/4 of the fan base is going to burn their jerseys if he even steps foot on the field. It's just that is. I wish the Browns just would have went the way of the Broncos. The Broncos just took the cap hit.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They just said we
Took
don't
it
care.
between the legs, baby. Let's go.
We just took it, and they're like, we'll figure it out. We'll just take it and figure it out. And now they're one game away from the Super Bowl. Like, we should have just. Ouch. I mean, we won 5 games this year. How much, if we just took the cap hit, how much worse could it have been? You know what I mean? It's not like we kept them on the roster and we made the playoffs because we didn't take the cap hit, so we were able to add all this talent. We won 5 freaking games with them on the roster. Just take the cap hit and be done with it. We're gonna suck again next year anyways, probably. Just take the cap hit and be done.
Well, I was going to say, we got a few voicemails left, but I think what I can do, honestly, I can hold these over because these could get into more discussions about other things. I'll hold these over for another show later this week. The last question I wanted to ask you guys, and then whatever else we want to talk about before we wrap. I've seen Quincy Carrier multiple times now on X posting about if only the Browns had lost those last 2 games, then we could have the number 1 pick right now and take Fernando Mendoza. Like, that's where his mindset is. How do you guys feel now, a couple weeks removed from ending the season on a 2-game win streak, bumping us out of potentially getting the number 1 pick down to 6 with, a class that looks like it's got 1 quarterback?
Blake, I already talked about this the other day on the Discord show. This was brought up. Doesn't even matter. Done. What's done is done. Living in a world where we talk about, as Browns fans, what ifs. That's all we've done our whole lives. We've got to get off of that. It is what it is. We won the fucking games. We beat Pittsburgh. We beat Cincinnati. Did it screw us in draft position? Maybe. We don't even know yet. The draft is still 3 months away. Let's not act like we've died before we even showed up at the draft. Can we just chill for 2 seconds as a fan base? God, Jesus. Go ahead. God. It's frustrating. What are we talking about?
I guess my thing is, even if you had the number 1 pick and you drafted Mendoza, we'd still suck next year because now you'd have your quarterback and still nothing around him. Yeah, so it's just like either way you're looking at this, I think we're probably at least another bad season away from the turnaround, unless like AB just somehow like nails it, or if we do go with like a McDaniels or a Grant, and they are great. And maybe we draft a mid-round. Like, this is a guy who I've dunked on for a long time. Well, I knew he was in college, but like, what if like we bring in a Mike McDaniels or a Grant Dinsky, and in the 6th round we draft Drew Aller, and an actual good offensive coach gets to coach him. You know what I mean? Because and you're just banking like he never reached his potential at Penn State because James Franklin was trash. And now we put this, 6'6" guy who can run and throw, and we put him with Mike McDaniels, and maybe they somehow do a quick turnaround. But what are the chances of that happening? You know what I mean? Like, chances are the quarterback room is going to be Deshaun Watson, Shedeur Sanders, and Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah.
And I just having the number 1 pick, we're still going to suck next year probably. And honestly, like 2 years from now, who knows? We'll see. But I don't know. I just don't think it matters. This team needs so much talent. Honestly, if we had the number 1 overall pick, I maybe would have traded it for a king's ransom anyways. Like, I guess like that is one side of the coin, is if you weren't going to take Mendoza because the quarterback just doesn't matter for this next year, and you could come away with another 3 first-round picks and another second-round pick this year or something crazy like that, and add, like we said, we need 8 guys on this offense. And maybe a 9th if you think we still need a quarterback. You need 5 linemen. And arguably 3 wide receivers, definitely 2. And depending on what David Njoku does, probably a tight end. I mean, this offense needs you almost have to replace every starter on offense outside of Quinshon Judkins and Harold Fandon.
It almost makes you wonder, like, I know there were draft picks spent in the Deshaun Watson trade, but what have we been doing for the last 6 years? Like, Andrew Berry's been the general manager for 6 years, and this is the offense we have, just completely decimated and nothing.
Oh, Josh, we've definitely had this argument before. We're trust me, we're there, dude.
I'm like,
it's a lot
Andrew
of
Barrett,
swings and misses.
He's got to impress the shit out of me this offseason because I'm very close to zero faith in him.
I'll tell you what happened. We traded for Deshaun Watson, and then he just never played. And then all of our team got old and sucked, waiting for him to get healthy and be good.
Yep, and the draft picks that you used to revitalize your roster are revitalizing a team in Texas. Yeah, no, that's how it goes.
You gave up all the picks, and you brought in Deshaun Watson, and then you started picking defensive players to build the defense because you said we got the quarterback, we're going to have Amari Cooper, we got Nick Chubb, and then Deshaun Watson plays never because he's always hurt. Nick Chubb blew his knee out and immediately then broke his leg. The offensive line went from top 3 to the worst in football, waiting for the guy you traded for to be your franchise quarterback to eventually become your franchise quarterback, and he's just never going to do it. That's you could write a book on how to kill a franchise.
Dude, in 2024, we were the highest paid offense and looked like cheeks.
Oh my gosh, did we ever? It is kind of crazy to think we traded for Deshaun Watson at 26 years old to be the immediate franchise quarterback. Not like, he's got to develop. No, like he was already established as a franchise quarterback in the NFL, already got that second big contract with Houston, all that kind of stuff. And the next time we're going to see him on the field, he's going to be 30 or 31. I don't even know, but like he's not even close to the same player.
Really think who we got a couple minutes here with when we traded for Deshaun, we had Amari Cooper, right?
I don't think so. He came that offseason.
Or we got him that
offseason. Yeah.
So we got him. And then we had Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. Offensive line was top 3. We had Hollywood. We had David Njoku. Like, we had an offense that could do things.
I don't think we had Hollywood. He went to Carolina the same year Baker did.
Okay. And then immediately suspended. So now you're playing with your backup quarterback for 11 games. And then the next year, injured.
Yep.
Playing the entire season with backups. Meanwhile, your top 3 offensive lines just getting older and older and older. Amari Cooper's getting older and older and older. And then the next year, injured again right away. It's just, I've made this argument before. Since we traded for Deshaun, we've played 85% of our games with a backup quarterback. Mm-hmm. And I was just trying to dig through some stats a couple weeks ago. The league, it's like the average win percentage of teams that start a backup quarterback since the year 2000 is like 23%. So, we're basically right there. Except for, in theory, went to the playoffs starting 4 different backups.
Yeah, 23%.
So, you know what I mean? Like,
we're like driving that number.
Yes. You wonder what happened to the offense. Teams don't usually win when they have to play a backup, and we've played exclusively backups since we got rid of Baker Mayfield. Almost exclusively have all been backups. So it's par for the course. Just look at the league average when you're forced to play with a backup. So, all right. Well, do we have anything else we want to get to, or was that everything?
Justin, were you going to say something there? Or?
No, all I was going to say is just with the offensive line, backup is a kind word. We were pretty much just practice squad and below at some point.
Look at the tackle situation the last 2 years. Like,
we didn't learn anything.
It's making my head hurt.
Yeah. Let me get you an aspirin, brother.
You know what I mean? Like, honest to God, the fact we won 5 games is almost a miracle. Like, I was joking with somebody the other day, and I said, winning 5 games got Kevin fired. I could make the argument they should have gave him another extension. Like, we won 5 games with Cam Robinson and KT Levinston playing tackle. Just this offensive roster. It is 0-16, 1-15 levels bad. It is atrocious.
Yeah. We're just lucky the defense is what it was, because that offense wasn't taking us anywhere this year.
And despite that, we're like 8 plays away from having 8 or 9 wins.
It's kind of crazy how a couple of things go different ways in some other games. We don't shit the bed on defensive drives here or there, or
don't give up 2
31
returns for
points
touchdowns against the Jets.
the Jets, and then suck against
Double-
the Titans.
double
We could have been
reverse.
fighting for the division.
Yes,
It's crazy.
You could go through and probably pick out 10 plays that if they went the other way, the Browns are competing for the division at the end of the year with this offensive roster. Just it's mind blowing.
That's the NFL, and that honestly, that's why I love the NFL so much. It's just the parity, and you just never know. You just never know when you're watching these games.
All right, we'll wrap this thing up. We were a little long winded. We haven't all been together in a couple weeks, so we had to. We went a little bit long. But we appreciate you guys being here, hanging out with us, even into the offseason. It's an exciting coaching search. Some people said I was being really negative. It's hard to be positive right now. You fired a coach, you immediately gets hired, gets a huge pay raise. League thinks that we're stupid for firing him. We're interviewing passing game coordinators that probably don't even want to come here anyways. They're just thankful for the opportunity to interview. It's kind of tough to be positive right now, if we're being honest.
Jesus, man.
I am excited. I am excited to see who they pick and see what they can do. But I mean, it doesn't, the future is not bright right now. At least not the immediate future. At least I don't think so. I think we're in a dark, dark place right now. So we'll see. We'll see. I know some people are really happy, but I just think the grass isn't always greener. But we'll wrap this thing up. We appreciate you guys being here. It'll be an interesting, maybe the next time we talk to you, we'll have a new head coach. We'll have some stuff to get into, talk about the outlook for the season. But again, appreciate the voicemails, thedogspodcast.com, tap leave voicemail if you want to get your thoughts on the show, and jointhedogs.com, become a dog pack member, play fantasy football, and join the Discord with us. So again, until sometime later this week, have a good week, and go Browns. It's just tough.
Oh, hang on a sec.